All right, so this mini lecture begins chapter 2 on noun phrases and appositives. I hope you feel comfortable and confident with your knowledge of word classes. I hope you did well on your first quiz. If you didn't do so well, you need to continue to review, ask questions, get some help from me, because certainly that knowledge from chapter 1 is so important as we move forward. You'll see, starting with this mini lecture, that those ideas from chapter 1 continue to grow. We looked at individual word classes, single words in chapter 1, but beginning in this chapter we start to expand. So today and in the next few mini lectures we'll talk about phrases. So let's get started with noun phrases and appositives. Right, so noun phrases and appositives. So recalling from chapter 1, we discussed some different tests that we could apply to determine whether a word is a noun. So one of those tests was the test. And if you could put a the in front of the word, then it must be a noun. The apple, the student, the tree, the desk, all of those are nouns because they passed the test. Secondly, you can add a plural s. We don't make adjectives plural. We don't make adverbs plural. Nothing but nouns show plurality in this way. So we have apples, students, trees, and desks. So again, some terminology, just to think back, will help us as we move forward in this mini lecture, is subjects and predicates. So every sentence begins with a subject, right? So this independent clause begins with the subject noun clause. The image on the computer screen, the required text for this course, the Department of English, many experts on the panel. Recall from chapter 1 that one way we identified subjects was by substituting a pronoun. Notice that each of these subject noun phrases can be replaced by a single word pronoun. It is rather small. It is available. It clearly states. They believe. We also said that as we're dividing independent clauses into subjects and predicates, that we should look for the main verb, and then the items to the left of the main verb is the subject of the sentence. So if you identify the main verb in these 4 sentences, we have the is, we have that linking verb, we have states, clearly states, and believe. So again, in a group of words that functions as a noun phrase, there must be a head noun. So the head noun is the main noun of the noun phrase. So if you look at many students from TAM-UCC, we have a noun students and we have another noun TAM-UCC. However, TAM-UCC is in the prepositional phrase from TAM-UCC. Therefore, from TAM-UCC is not the head noun, rather students is the head noun. The same is true in the third example when we have the members of the basketball team. The team is a noun certainly, but it is not the head noun of this phrase. And I skipped number 2, but one of my students. Again, one is the head noun. Again, we can substitute those with pronouns to help us identify that full chunk is the subject, but there's only one head noun within each of those. So we have talked about subject noun phrases, as in this first example, James carefully considered the offer. So the first noun phrase in an independent clause, James, this is the subject of the sentence. And we have James considered. Considered is the main verb, and then the offer is the object of the sentence. So English is an SVO language, meaning we order things subject, verb, object. And the second one, he carefully considered the offer for his car. Again, he is the subject noun phrase, the offer is the object noun phrase, and we can even see his car it is following the preposition for, so it is the object of the preposition. And then in the final one, again, the first subject noun phrase, the police officer, is the subject. We have the man a ticket. So the police officer gave the man a ticket. Here we actually have two objects. We'll talk much more about the two types of objects in chapter 3, but at this moment it's just important for us to understand that moving from, well, we've identified the subject and we've identified the predicate, but we're also going to look within the predicate to identify the different types of object noun phrases within that part of the sentence. Again, we can use the pronoun substitution test to identify these. All of these red highlighted words, all of those nouns, can be replaced by a pronoun. And in the third sentence, a ticket, again, that can be replaced by a pronoun. So we could say, she gave him it. All noun phrases can be replaced by a pronoun. Keep that in mind. It's a very useful test. So again, the pronoun substitution test, if you can replace a word or group of words with a pronoun, then the word or words is a noun phrase. And we know subject pronouns such as I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. But in the object position, we should also try to substitute me, you, him, her, us, them. You may even try to substitute pronouns such as this, that, these, and those. So using this rule, using this test, we can determine which items are noun phrases. So if we look at number 1, adverbs can be used to modify verbs and other adverbs. So applying the pronoun substitution test, this becomes they can be used to modify them and those. In number 2, they can change to show it. Okay, so number 2 has 2 noun phrases. Number 3, how many noun phrases do you see? Well, we have they are used to modify them. Okay, so we have 2 noun phrases in 3. Number 4, it is used to connect them. 2 noun phrases in 4. And in 5, it can be this or that. So again, this is a very useful test that we will apply and use in chapter 2, but they can also serve you well in the subsequent chapters as we move through the text. So if you look at section 2.1 from your textbook, it asks you to do just what we've done to identify the noun phrases. So let's first just discuss this sentence. Some vowels are rounded and other vowels are considered unrounded. So we have 2 independent clauses. So keep in mind, an independent clause is a clause that has a subject and a verb. So vowels are, okay? And plus, we have other vowels are considered in the second part. So because we have two independent clauses, these must be joined by a comma and a conjunction. But to fulfill the task of the exercise, to substitute pronouns, we would say they are rounded and those are considered unrounded. So we have 2 noun phrases in number 1. If you take a look at number 2, doing the same, they are produced through it, try to hold it. So we have 3 noun phrases. Number 3, I'll give you a moment to work it out yourself. All right, so they became nasalized when they are next to them. So we can replace vowels with a pronoun. We already have a pronoun they present in the sentence. And then we can also replace nasal consonants with a pronoun. Okay, and number 4. So you produce it in this to make it. So again, 3 noun phrases in 4, and then in number 5, this produced with that is called this. So certainly that sounds a little strange, but grammatically it makes perfect sense. So we have looked at noun phrases as subjects. So the students in the class meet at the library. The students in the class is the first noun phrase in an independent clause. So therefore it must be the subject. We have talked briefly about noun phrases as object. The man gave a speech to the visitors. Okay, so we have a speech in the object position, but now we're going to talk about appositives. So an appositive is a noun phrase that renames or identifies another noun. So for example, in number 1, we have the blue-billed warbler, comma, a bird indigenous to South Texas, comma, eats bugs and fish. So notice that the appositive noun phrase, a bird indigenous to South Texas, is within 2 commas, and it defines and gives more information about this bird, the blue-billed warbler. So notice, again, this appositive is extra information. It is not essential to the sentence. You can take this out and the sentence makes sense. This is why the commas are added. The commas say to you, signal to the reader or to the listener that, hey, this phrase is not needed. So an appositive, extra information about a noun. Same is true with number 2, an associate professor of history. So here the appositive starts the sentence, so it's followed by a comma, and the appositive is giving us more information about Dr. Peterson. Again, in 3, we have the appositive, the word class that modifies nouns. That's just giving us more information about adjectives. So notice that each of these appositives, none of these has a verb, right? There's not a verb in a noun phrase. There's a verb in clauses, there's a verb in sentences, not a verb in these appositives. So each appositive adds information, and then the punctuation is certainly important. When the appositive is in the middle of the sentence, you need commas at both ends, and when the appositive is at the beginning, it just comes after. So that's all for noun phrases and appositives.